What's up, college football fans? Welcome back to an all new episode of the Cover 2 College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Smithson, joined as always by my co host, the Okie Longhorn himself, Dalt. First and foremost, as usual, we're hitting this recap episode. We got games still being played, but as usual, buddy, how we doing tonight?
Oh man, what a day. We ragged on this for being potentially a slow, just boring day, and what a day we have had in the world of college football. Watching Arkansas and Tennessee battle it. Tennessee struggled for the whole first half and now halfway finding some life. Arkansas's really shot themselves in the foot. It's among other things that we'll touch on here in a little bit, but it's been a day.
It certainly has. We would be remiss, Dalt. We would be burying the lead. Like I said, we're recording. I mean, as we speak, Tennessee and Arkansas are still playing. There are several games. I mean, the game day game has not even kicked off yet. But you know, we're trying to get into more of getting 2 episodes a week to try and shorten them down. So we're kind of doing instant recap episodes Saturday night, Sunday, and then obviously that's what we did a week ago. Seemed to work out pretty well. So these games are still currently going on. But yeah, we would be remiss if we did not talk about what occurred in Nashville. That game finished up just a few hours ago. Number one, Alabama goes on the road where former coach Nick Saban said, not a tough place to play in the SEC. That one aged like a good glass of milk a couple of weeks later. And I think I saw it's their first win over was it number one or top 5 team, I think, since like the 80s, I think is what I saw, something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
It was the first time they had led the AP number 1 team since 1997, and that was your beloved Oklahoma Sooners.
yeah.
Which your
So
Sooners pulled that game out and won, but that was the first time they had led them after a quarter. So it's a huge win for Vandy and uh their coach who, you know, I like him. I think what he's done there is no short of than a miracle. He's kind of built a tough underdog mentality that Vandy really needs, because how many people are going to pick Vandy to upset ranked teams in this day and age of football?
well, they got close a couple weeks ago
Well,
because they took. Well, yeah, we'll talk about Missouri, but they did take Missouri to the wire, um, and you know they beat Virginia Tech, who a lot of people like, myself included. That's not aged real well. But this Vanderbilt team they have been much. They've shown a lot more, and a lot of it has been Diego Pavia, the quarterback, who was just kind of, he just didn't really just do anything incredible in this game, but he just was good. I mean, he didn't make mistakes. They didn't ask him to really do more than they needed him to, and the game plan for Vanderbilt, it was worked to perfection. And just what a turn of events. The goalposts are at the bottom of the Cumberland River in Nashville currently. That just came across the Twitter universe a few 30 minutes ago or so. I saw the tweets of the videos. And I mean, this is why we love college football, Dalt. We talked just earlier this week with Conley about how this week, I mean, I named the episode Sleepy Weekend in college football, and it's been anything but. And I mean, we talked about it, and it always goes this way. It's not, there's nobody is surprised. So, I mean, just some absolute, just great games today. Some outcomes have been a little less surprising than others, but that is definitely the game of the day. We talked about it. Biggest upset in college football since Appalachian State over Michigan, probably, which is in our
oh,
intro, that call.
easily.
And we just have to tip our hats to Vandy. I mean, no longer, no, would you say no longer the doormat of the Power Four? I mean, I'm not going to jump the gun and say they're great or anything like that, but I mean, let's be honest, Dalt. This team is a win against Missouri away from 2 top 10 wins over the course of 3 weeks.
And being 4-1.
being 4-1, and they would without question be a top 10 team tomorrow. Well, close to a top 10 team tomorrow.
They'd be top
probably
15, yeah,
easily
for sure.
top 15. They would already be in the top 25 had they beaten Missouri. But yeah, it's crazy. My buddy who's an Alabama fan, we were talking, and
Suicide watch.
well, he seemed to be taking it a little better. He does listen to the show, so he was taking it a little better. I obviously wasn't with him, but he seemed to be handling it a little better than I would have suspected. I would hate to. There's possibly some domestic violence that's going to occur in Alabama tonight over this game. I hate to joke about anything like that, but they love their football and they take it very seriously as fans. So I mean, you got anything else on this game before we get into kind of we got one other thing we're going to talk about before we kind of get into the recap of our picks, but you got anything else you want to add before we move on?
Diego Pavia is America's quarterback, because that is exactly how any American would act in a post-game press conference.
Yeah, just dropping F-bombs on ESPN.
After upsetting Alabama.
F-bombs,
just saying shit. Like
it was great.
And then his coach comes in all humble and stuff, knowing damn well his quarterback just lit up the world.
Yeah, he says, you know, this is not the top for us. This is just the start. And it's like, okay, buddy. I get where you're going. You got to be a coach. It's fine. You know, that's great. Let's just calm down.
They could 3 weeks. They could potentially be hosting another number one team in the country.
That's true. Yeah, they got Texas coming up. Hey, watch out, buddy.
Right.
Watch out.
No sleepy weekend for us.
Yeah, you know, that was what I was going to ask you, Dalt. Have you ever been happier for your team to be on a bye week than this week after what has unfolded and transpired?
They can't hurt us this week, can they, Tim?
I mean, we are the real winners this week. Me and you, not having to deal with what's going on across college football. But we'll move on. We give Vanderbilt their flowers. Great. It is a program-defining win for Clark Lee. It's just there's not much more to say. It's a just massive landscape changing, which of course this is not the end for Bama. They're going to be okay. I think you have some questions about DeBoer and all that. I have coming off the huge win against Georgia. Not a great look to go on the road to Vanderbilt and get beat. I mean, that just should not happen. At the end of the day, no matter how good Vanderbilt is with what Bama has become, you don't lose that game. But that's where we are. That's the world we're living in. So the only other thing before we get into this recap, Dalt, that I wanted to touch on, and this one's it's fairly close to home for us because of we're Okies, obviously. You being the Okie Longhorn, but what is next for Oklahoma State? Because
somebody's got to get fired.
We probably will touch on this a little bit later as we get into best and worst to just kind of wet the beak on that. But they get beat for the third straight week, 0-3 in Big 12 play. Dalt, this is a team that we picked to make I picked them to make the playoff. I don't remember. Did you?
I picked them to make the playoff. Yeah. I picked them to win the Big 12.
Both picked them to win the Big 12, and they, man, the offense is bad. The defense is bad. I got my buddy from work texting me while he's at the game, like, fire everybody. The place is half empty. They're booing Gundy, booing the team. To me, Dalt, you almost, if you're Gundy at this point, I don't know if you do it midseason, but you almost have to just completely clean house. Like, maybe both sides of the ball. Because this I don't know if you can cut Nardo off. It's what, his second year? Last year was first year or second year?
It's his second year, going into his second year, because Jim Knowles was at Ohio State for his first year last year, or it might be his third year.
Yeah, I think it is his third, because this, I think, is Jim Knowles' third at Ohio State. So I just don't really know what's next for Oklahoma State. This is a team that, and you know, listeners won't really like to hear it, but Texas and Oklahoma dominated the Big 12. You know, Oklahoma a little bit more than Texas, but as far as teams that won the conference, played for national titles, both won a national title. Like our teams dominated the Big 12. We both leave, and I think a lot of people assumed, even with realignment, you kind of handed the keys to Oklahoma State. And it's like, okay, like, especially from an Oklahoma standpoint, and you won't like to hear this as an Oklahoma State fan, but that's a team that they could not get out from under. They had success against you guys, obviously, and they beat OU a few times the last, 15, 20 years, but it's just bizarre. This team brought back 20 starters, which you talk so much about being good, bringing back experience, but is this kind of turned into a situation where all that experience coming back is not good? You have the comments being made. I think the commentator during that game today, or somebody I saw on Twitter, said that if I'm Ollie Gordon, I don't play another snap for Oklahoma State.
I said that in our preview in this episode. I think he took a shot today late in that game where he got his legs wrapped up and got twisted up, and I didn't see him leave the field. I switched over to a different game, but I said it in the preview that I think this was a loss that he packs it up and he's done and he's ready for the draft. Or if he's getting bad draft grades, he hits the portal.
Yeah. And I mean, you hate to see it go that way because of all the hype, and I think Gordon's a great player. It just hasn't been good, and you have I don't know what Gundy I don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation between Gundy and Casey Dunn and that offense, but Alan Bowman they've got to do something different because they and the best thing I can say is there's a podcast that I listen to, which it's an OU centric podcast. I'm not going to name it or anything like that, but one of the guys on there talked about Oklahoma State is the same team that they were a year ago, but they just and again OSU was good last year. They had a good season, but how many breaks did they get all year long last year in big games? They win games by one possession, several 6 or 7 games that could have gone either way, and they were just on the right end of. And it kind of seems this year like they're not kind of getting those breaks, and it's just not going well. I mean, you get handled by Utah, you get just destroyed by Kansas State, and then you get destroyed by West Virginia at home, a team that we thought was going to be pretty good, but has been mostly a disappointment the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And I'm not here to harp on Oklahoma State, but I just feel like they have to probably be the most disappointing team in college football. I don't know that there's another team that comes to my mind as far as, not that they had national title hype, but hype for the Big 12, hype to make the playoff. It all kind of seemed like it was right there in front of them, and it has just gone so bad in conference play, and you just don't know where they go from here. So wanted to touch on that just because, again, it's kind of close to, we have several friends that are Oklahoma State fans, grads, like, and it's you just talk to any of them, and it's they're all just kind of fed up. And I mean, it's to the point that a lot of people they're done with Gundy. Like, they think it's time to move on, like put him out to pasture. I don't know if that's the right move, but I don't think you can fire Gundy. Like, it's just what he's accomplished there. It's hard. I mean, I think there are some things that could go wrong that you could get to that point, but anyway.
Well,
if you don't have anything,
here's the thing, and I'll just be real quick about it. I know we're trying to keep these things short, and we can get into this later. What Mike Gundy has done at Oklahoma State almost makes him unfireable. But with that being said, what he has done at Oklahoma State, there's now a standard.
Yeah.
And everybody says, "Oh, win 7 games and Gundy, that's a good season for Gundy." No, that's not a good season anymore. There's 9 wins. There's a 9-win standard at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, this team has I think they have a double-digit streak for bowl game appearances, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but
Gundy hasn't lost more than 6 or 5 games in like 12 years. Like,
yeah.
I don't know that he's lost that since like year 1. I mean, but somebody's got to be held accountable, whether it's Casey Dunn, the defensive play caller, the players. I mean, definitely the players. There's not a lot of heart on this team, like I talked about, and everybody wants to be quick to point that the offensive line doesn't block for Ollie Gordon. There's a lot of time that Ollie Gordon's just lowering his head and running right into his lineman's back.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not even looking for the hole to cut into. But the hole's usually not there, so why would he? But I'm
Right.
like I said, there's a standard Oklahoma State, and Mike Gundy knows that there is a standard. If he doesn't, he's just being oblivious. But at some point, it can only roll downhill for so long until it piles up at the top.
Yeah. All right, Dalt. Let's get into this recap. We got 5 games. The games we picked are all complete. So you went 3-2 this week. I went 2-3. Kind of salvaged what I thought was going to be a really bad weekend again for me. But that first game that we picked was a non-ranked matchup over in the Big Ten, and this was a win for both of us. Conley, on the other hand, he took Rutgers, but the Nebraska Cornhuskers, they defeat Rutgers in what was a defensive struggle, 14-7, and we had Nebraska at minus 6.5, Dalt. So they squeak by, but hey, it's a cover. It makes money. We'll take it. Raiola, not particularly good in this game, and same can be said for the quarterback at Rutgers. Had a couple picks. Rutgers didn't score until with under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. This game was 14-0, so they just never really had much of a pulse on offense. But I watched a little bit. Did you watch much of this game? I know everybody was kind
I,
of glued to the Vandy.
yeah,
This
I
was going
was
on during the Vandy Bama game, so
yeah, this one was I clicked in on it for like a possession, and I was just like, this is a 14-0 game, and Rutgers can't move the ball. So I flipped back over to more entertaining games. I think I was flipping back and forth between that Vandy Alabama game and the Georgia Auburn game
yeah,
during this one. But like you said, Raiola not great. Threw a pick, no touchdowns, didn't break 140 yards. But I'm not even gonna butcher his name. He is breaks 150 yards, but good catch.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
2 picks though. The 2 picks were the backbreaker. These teams were essentially even in total yards: 264 for Rutgers, 261 for Nebraska, 15, 18 first downs. Time possession was only off by like 3 minutes.
yeah.
It was just nobody could get anything going, and the 2 turnovers and
Uh-oh.
then not being able to punch drives in really killed Rutgers. Make a man miss.
Yeah, you got to be a little better than that.
Yeah,
Arkansas trying to punch it in to get back within 4 of Tennessee. Uh, yeah, so I agree with you. This pretty evenly matched game. I kind of thought that this was going to be a low scoring game like this. Didn't really surprise me. But Nebraska, they get back on the winning side of things. Improved to 5-1. So this was a win for us, Dalt. We'll go ahead and move right along to our next one. And this was kind of what I would consider kind of not really surprise, but this Friday night game, we had Syracuse going on the road to play UNLV in Las Vegas. And man, this was a shootout, which I think most expected it to be. Syracuse offense has been good, and then you had UNLV, the go-go offense, and what all they do. But the final here, Dalt, was 44-41 in overtime. Syracuse held UNLV to a field goal, I believe, in overtime, and then they scored the touchdown, win by 3. Um, a
got
lot of
hosed.
lot of back and forth in this one. I I watched a little bit of this game last night, but I was kind of busy around the house. What did you think of this one? We both took UNLV. We all three took UNLV at -7. So this was a loss for both of us. What did you think of this one, Dalt?
Syracuse jumps out to the 14-0 lead, and everybody's like, "Oh boy." The UNLV offense couldn't get going. They couldn't put more than 2 first downs together in any of their first 2 or 3 possessions, and then they finally settled in. The Williams kid settled in and got the offense going with some of those short out routes and just quick hitches that Syracuse was giving them, and they rattled off 21 points, just quick. And then going into the half, they have a 4 point lead, and I kind of thought, okay, UNLV is about to run away with it. And then right back, here comes Syracuse right back on their opening drive. They go on a 6-minute drive and punch it in, and then not even a minute later, they punch in another touchdown to take a 10-point lead. And then, just in pure dramatic fashion, in the next 4 minutes or the next 8 minutes, UNLV comes back and ties it.
Yeah.
The way this game went in overtime, UNLV gets stopped. They have Syracuse in, I believe, in like a 3rd and 20 situation, and they get the most egregious roughing the passer call I think I've
Okay.
ever seen.
So I didn't see any of the overtime. I did not see that.
So McCord is rolling out and trying to throw a little quick dump down to his running back, just trying to just keep it in field goal range. He gets rid of it, and about the time he gets rid of it, the defender hits him in the chest with his hands and just kind of has his head down by his hands. They call roughing the passer with targeting. They go and review it. It was not targeting. But guess what they can't overturn?
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah.
They can't overturn the roughing the passer call. So they still get 15 free yards for a first down, and then they go and punch in. So it was really kind of a BS finish. The Hodge Williams was phenomenal. 21 to 25 for 227 yards, 3 touchdowns. But Kyle McCord just kind of got lucky and outdueled him a little bit, throwing for 355 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Syracuse, kind of a nice story, Dalt. 4-1. They're 1-0 in the ACC. You look at. Trying to look here. I was trying to find their remaining schedule, but
I got it right here.
I don't know what they have left ahead. Do they play Miami or Clemson?
They
They've got to play one of them.
They have Miami at the last game of the season.
So
they still have to play Virginia Tech.
I'm telling you, dude, their offense is really good, and you saw what Virginia Tech did to Miami. The Syracuse might throw a bit of a wrench in things. I don't think that they're that good by any means. And again, they kind of sneak by, like you said, kind of get a little bit of luck involved. But sometimes that's what it takes to win against a nice little UNLV team that, we had kind of talked about being in the driver's seat for that group of 5 spot. But I was so close to taking Syracuse in this game, Dalt, and I didn't. But anyway, we both take UNLV here, so we missed on this one. So we'll move on to our next game. This is another one that I was wrong on. I'm sure Conley, he enjoyed this one. The outcome here had the nice moment on the pod earlier this week. SMU, they go up to Louisville and they defeat the Cardinals 34-27. So they cover that -7 spread. I took the Cardinals here. Just thought Louisville was the better team. As Arkansas punches it in. Arkansas within 4 now. Well, 5 right now, but extra point away from a 4-point game in Fayetteville. Got a good one. I should have said this was my sneaky good game, Dalt. I told you. I tried to tell you. You talked me out of it. Anyway, SMU defeats Louisville, Dalt. This was another one that was kind of back and forth. SMU kind of looked like they were going to take control of it, but they didn't. Louisville got right back in it, tied it up at 27. And then there was a big fumble that was, I believe, overturned. He was down, kind of changed the momentum. I think SMU did go on to score there, and that's when they took the 34-27 lead, and they never looked back. What did you think of this one, Dalt?
I told you. Everybody called me a madman, and I told you this SMU team figured it out. Fly the flag, pony up. They have figured something out. The Jennings kid is now
nice player.
He's just running the offense. The defense is good enough, especially to win in the ACC, which is terrible. And it's not like Louisville played bad. The Shuck kid or Show, whatever you pronounce it, he played all right. Ja'Cory Brooks is an absolute freak of a wide receiver.
Only 3 catches for 121 and 2 touchdowns. That's
2 of his 3 catches were scores. That's not a bad day. Why are we looking at this? He's in.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know. I hate review, man. That was not even
that's
close.
terrible. His elbow's down, his ball, the ball's already across the line.
I don't know.
Uh,
Officials
but
got to
no,
make it about them.
a SMU 5-1. I sent this tweet out 5-1, 1-0 in the ACC,
2-0.
and
2-0
or
in the
2-0.
ACC.
That's
Yep.
right. They beat Florida State last week.
Yep.
Shocker.
Yeah. Who could have foreseen that?
Yeah,
What was with Louisville's uniforms?
they were.
The gold logos. What was that? That looked bad. I did not like
Uh,
that at all. Not very appeasing to the eye.
there's a lot. There's a lot of really really bad uniforms been wore this weekend.
They don't normally do that. It had to be some kind of special thing or something, I would imagine. But yeah,
Did you just happen to see what Iowa State was wearing tonight?
I did. I saw the helmets are nice, man, but the stripes on the sleeves of those uniforms look awful.
Terrible.
Does a school hate their colors more than Iowa State?
They never wear
As much as they wear
the
black and
scarlet and
white,
gold. Yeah,
like I, that's a team that could probably benefit from some throwbacks because
yeah.
the Cyclone Bird Cardinal, whatever it is, the early 2000s, late 90s look that they had, it's all time. It's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we'll go ahead and move on, Dalt. Like you said, decent. This was a really good game, and I watched. I flipped back and forth. This was an 11 a.m. game, I believe. I was flipping back and forth between this one and the Missouri A&M game. This was a much better one than that. But yeah, SMU, they hang on here, win by a touchdown, so they do cover. This was a win for you, a loss for me. So we'll move over our last two games. We'll finish off in the SEC and then get to best and worst for this weekend. But Ole Miss, they go on the road and defeat a little bounce back game, just as I predicted. Defeat South Carolina 24-3, I believe was the final here. Am I right?
27-3.
27-3. Okay. 27-3 was the final. They cover that 9-point spread that they went in there as favorites. So this was a win for me, a loss for you, and Conley, I believe, took South Carolina as well. And I just felt like this was a good bounce back spot for Lane. Don't hate South Carolina. They think they've done some nice things defensively. They kind of got after Dart early on in this game, but it just wasn't enough. And their offense, they just couldn't keep up. And Ole Miss was able to bounce back and get a win here. Did you? This was the 2:30 slate today was really good. I thought, like, between the Georgia Auburn game was pretty solid for most of it, and then this game was decent most of the way until kind of Ole Miss pulled away. Then obviously Bama, Vandy, OSU, West Virginia. You had several decent games, but what did you think of this one, Dalton?
South Carolina couldn't get out of their own way today, and Beamer even took a lot of the heat for that fourth down fake punt that was so obvious that he was about to run.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
In that situation, if you're going to go for it, don't try to be sneaky. Leave your dual threat quarterback out there on the field. Like it's a yard and a half. They just, and then the fumble and the interception. Ole Miss just kind of let South Carolina keep making mistakes. Kind of what Lane Kiffin's usually known for. Going for it on his own side of the field, not getting it, giving the opponents all the momentum. But it wasn't just a super explosive day for Ole Miss. They really had to earn it. And like we talked about, like you just said, that those two defensive ends really got after Dart.
Yeah, I mean, this game was essentially over at halftime. They led 24-3. They only get those 3 points in the second half. But yeah, I mean, Ole Miss over 400 yards of offense, 17 first downs. South Carolina actually had more first downs, and they led in time of possession, but that's not really surprising. Ole Miss they don't usually lead time of possession because they just go so fast. But I was the fourth down, the fake punt. That I mean, the announcer even or the commentator even brought it up right before it happened, and it's like, man, it's just it's first. I think it was their first possession, right?
Yep.
Like, I know it's Beamer ball and that's what he's known for, but that just seems so obvious. And Ole Miss obviously was ready for it. But yeah, this just not a lot of offense for South Carolina. I mean, what did Sellers 162 yards, had a pick, ran for 55, just couldn't really get anything going. So this was a win for you, or for me, Dalt. Loss for you. Man, Arkansas is getting after Nico.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Anyway, we'll move on. We're both 2-2 now, or no, you're 3-2, or yeah, 2-2. No,
Yep. Nope. I'm 3-1.
3-1. Yeah, 3-1. I'm 2-2. So our final game. This was our game of the week, and it was not a great game for some.
For OU fans, it was amazing, wasn't it?
It was this was probably the most joy that I could have gotten out of a bye week, Dalt. But Missouri, they go down to College Station and they get hammered by Aggie. I mean, this game was over when it started. And the craziest thing from this entire game, Dalt, was when they announced Connor Weigman was going to start. I thought Missouri +2 was the best call ever. I mean, I was like, this is a lock. I was shocked.
He looked like
And
the
then he comes
five-star
out
he
here.
was in high school.
He comes out here and looks like a Heisman finalist against Missouri. I mean, he was throwing back shoulders, like on the money. And I mean, they go into halftime up 24-0, come out first play from scrimmage, second half, 75-yard house call, run, go up 31-0, never look back. 41-10, the final, Dalt. I know you hate A&M. I don't really care for them either. And I know I talk bad about Missouri, and I'll have my fun here, but Missouri fraud alert.
Yes. This was, you had your questions about Missouri after Vandy. I know Vandy just beat Alabama, so Vandy may be the best team in the SEC. Who knows? But a team that has probably, I would say, the best receiver, the best draft eligible receiver in the country, in Luther Burden, should have a pulse on offense. I don't care who you're playing. The problem is when you struggle on offense and your defense has as many holes that this Missouri defense does, a halfway competent offense is going to run away. And Texas A&M has not looked like a halfway competent offense all year. They look like a well-oiled machine today. and I hate saying that. And for all you Aggies out there, and you can clip this and okay, you can clip this and put this on Twitter, on TikTok, all that. Do not ever say Texas has a soft schedule, because y'all's claim to fame was that this Missouri team was going to be the toughest team in the SEC. And now it looks like your toughest game is at the very end.
Yeah. I think that's without question. I mean, you look at the SEC, Dalt, and not to get off topic, but I look at Oklahoma's schedule, and Missouri, they get beat. Ole Miss gets beat last week. Bama gets beat this week. Like, these are all teams that I'm like, 3 weeks ago, I'm like, which I'm still kind of like,
LSU
but
lost to
LSU's not look great.
USC.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC, man, how good is it? I don't know, but yeah, A&M, they should absolutely be 10-1 going into the Lone Star Showdown. What'll be the first rendition of that game since what, 2012, 2011? Just a little over 10 years. Big, massive win for A&M, Mike Elko. I mean, they
Huge.
like you said, just look like a well-oiled machine, which was just shocking. I mean, Missouri just looked totally. I mean, they looked discombobulated. Drinkwitz, he I absolutely hated what he said. I mentioned it in the group chat, and BP agreed. They interviewed him, I think, after like the first quarter, and it was after that touchdown got called back that would have made it 10-7, and he kind of made the comment hinting at we're kind of getting jobbed by the officials, which there were some questionable calls, but like, come on, dude. Like, you got outplayed, you got outcoached. Like, I know that they prepared all week for Marcel Reed and they roll out Weigman. And like I said, he looks like a Heisman finalist. So what do you really expect there? But
Well, and here's the thing with that: if you're expecting Marcel Reed and they run Weigman out there, your job gets easier.
well, right, and then he even mentioned that in the press conference this week. Like, oh no, like they're not starting Weigman. Like they're not worried about Weigman. He goes out there and just I mean, he wasn't crazy. I mean, he didn't have any touchdowns or anything. Only A&M's running for over 200 yards a game in SEC play, and they're currently 3-0 in the conference play, first place, solely in first place in conference. And they're probably, unless they pull an A&M, going to stay that way. But Elko's got them rolling, man. I do think Missouri, we're going to get into this. We're going to get right into best and worst. Fraud alert, fraudulent. Yeah, we're there. We are there. You had how dumb did Theo Weiss look? He gets the blanket, that whole situation in the hotel room.
I want to know the truth behind that blanket.
Well,
if that was the if that was the A&M player that did that, hell yeah. Well, if that was Eli Drinkowitz that did that to motivate Theo Weiss to have a good game, you idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he had one catch, which it did result in a touchdown. But
Mike Elko said he needs to ask
that's
Eli
Elko.
Drinkowitz about it.
Yeah, right. I don't know, man, that whole situation. But yeah, he shows up to the field with it draped over him, and then you just get housed by 31 points. Not that he had anything to do with the defense getting just gashed, but the offense was bad, man. I mean, Missouri can't run the football. That's a problem. I mean, we see teams throughout the country that cannot run the football, and the offense is usually not very good if you cannot run the football. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Missouri, like these teams cannot run the football right now, and the offense is not good. You've got to establish the run. It's I know it's old school to think about it that way, but it's just true. It is what it is. And so Missouri, they get housed in College Station. Massive win. You're going to hear the delusion. I mean, I talked about it in the preview. The delusion from both of these fan bases is just absurd.
That's a flop.
Did they call it?
Yes, they did. They threw a flag.
Oh my!
Wow. He didn't even hit him.
Wow.
That's definitely got to be a running into. That can't be a roughing.
What was the down and distance?
I don't know, but he didn't hit him.
They're celebrating like it was. It had to have been less than 5 because they're celebrating.
It's running into the kicker. Yeah, first down.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
See here.
I don't think he got him.
He did. He got him. Yeah, he got him, but it wasn't much.
Oh,
I mean, it's technically the right call. It's technically the right call. He did kind of get blocked into him, but
yeah, that's
for those obviously listening. Tennessee just got called for running into the kicker, which resulted in a penalty that gives Arkansas the ball back. So that's our recap, Dalt. And so those are our games. Like I said, you go 3-2. I go 2-3. What we thought was a sleepy weekend in college football, it's turned out to be a pretty dang good one. And so with that, we're going to get into best and worst. We meant to do this last week, and I just totally forgot, went blank. But I will let you lead the way. What was your best? I know we're still kind of in the midst of it, but what's your best of week 6?
I don't think there's anything that is going to take away. Arkansas could come back and beat Tennessee by 30, and it wouldn't take my best away from Clark Lee, Diego Pavia, and the Vanderbilt Commodores anchoring down and beating Alabama. Just what a historic thing. What a great win for the program. I know Vandy's not much of a program in football, but you always want to have one of them to say you have. Hello. I'm a little bit behind you. Good for him getting up after that shot. But just what a great scene. Like you said, they tear the goalposts down, carry them down, throw them in the Cumberland River. Thank goodness Morgan Wallen wasn't in Nashville, he might have threw it off of a rooftop bar. Taylor Green's so good.
He might be dead.
Did he get rocked? Oh yeah, he's 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 got he's got 2 flags down over the top of his body. Yeah, I'm saying he got rocked. Oh wow, that's one way to get rid of him.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, Vandy, what just a great win for them.
Oh, that's bad. He might be hurt, Dalt. I think he's hurt.
Oh no, nope, I can't watch that.
That sucks.
His
What's the Tennessee guy doing, dude? That's dirty. I'm sorry, that's dirty. You dive right at his knee?
Don't show it again. I'll throw
Are
up.
you kidding me? He dove right at his knee, dude.
Yeah, I know.
That. Sorry, we're not trying to get off here. So your
Please,
best is
okay. Okay, he's walking on it. I thought he broke his leg.
it kind of his leg
When
was
it
kind of
went
laying weird. Yeah,
when he
but
rolled
I think it
over,
maybe just was hyperextended.
whenever he rolled over, it looked like his leg was going
Yeah,
in a different direction.
I think he got lucky that he kind of hit him from the front. Is that all you got on Vandy? Your best?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna give my best. It's kind of lame, but whatever. I took Iowa as my super dog. Thought they would cover that 20. What was it? 20 and a half. And man,
it was 20. It was 22 because it was 3 scores.
And so Ohio State, they cover. They would beat Iowa 35-7 at home. And man, they're one of. I know they have not played anybody. I mean, Iowa's top. Was they a top 25 team? No, not a top. No. So not really played anybody. But outside of Ohio State and Texas, really the only 2 teams that just really haven't no struggle, struggle. And they just do what they're supposed to do and they win the game. And so because I took Iowa as my super dog, kind of doubted Ohio State a little bit. And I've been kind of vocal about doubting Ohio State, but they look good against a pretty good Iowa team that plays pretty good defense that I thought would keep this game fairly competitive. And they beat them by 4 touchdowns at home. So I'm going to give Ohio State my best. So with that, well, let's move into our worst. Who is your worst of the weekend?
My worst of the weekend is the Oklahoma State Cowboys. A lot can be blamed on the offense, but the defense is just as much to blame for the last 2 games for sure. You can't really blame them for the Utah game, but they have been not good, and they have not played with any fire, with any heart in the last 2 weeks, and I don't see it getting any better going forward. You're down 31-7 at half at home, and we both know what happens when OSU's losing at halftime.
Yeah, plays empty.
OSU fans vacate the premises. And we just talked about this. Alan Bowman goes 10 for 19 for 116 yards and 2 picks. Ollie Gordon, 13 carries for 50 yards. Unacceptable. You cannot have the expectations you have at a place like Oklahoma State now. And I'm telling you, OSU fans can't go back to reeling and saying, 7 wins is good for Gundy, because it's not.
No,
it's not. You have clamored that you are one of the top programs in the country for 10 years now. Act like it. This is a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
Arkansas is not going to score.
We kind of led with that, after we touched on the Vandy. We're kind of going back to what we talked about towards the beginning of the episode. But I completely agree with you, Dalt. It's easily one of the worst situations in the country, and like I said, I think they're the most disappointing team in college football. And I know my buddy from work who listens to the show, he's going to be sad to hear it, but he's been texting me all night, and he told me that he wants Gundy gone, and I think he's a little overreacting, but he thinks they should fire Gundy and clean house and just start fresh because he thinks Gundy's never going to fix it and that he's content, and he might be right.
Let's see how the year finishes. I mean, You still
Well,
got some
he
games in front of you, but
yeah, and he's
I'm not going to
convinced that
jump on the Fire and Gundy train right now. But
he's
we're
convinced that
getting there.
they'll figure it out and win 8 or 9 games, and OSU fans will think it's great. Which they like you said, they might revert back to that. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. That's disappointing for Arkansas to not score there.
Just get 3.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll move on to my worst, and it's a game we just talked about, Dalt. Missouri. Frauds. No good. They're the worst of the weekend. You lose the weekend. You have fans on social media. Your coach misses no opportunity to say something that he feels like is going to make him sound smarter than everyone in the room. I cannot stand people that are like that, and Drinkowitz is 100% that guy.
Just because he looks like a nerd doesn't make him one.
Well, this is just not the same Missouri team from a year ago. That 11-2 Missouri team a year ago was really good. Defensively, they were solid. Offensively,
the defense was a lot better than what they are this year.
But I mean, when you had, I think in the first half of this game, they had 1 first down and only 5 in the whole game, or 13. 5 for 15 on third down, 1 for 4 on fourth down. Just over 250 yards of total offense, give up over 500. They had 68 yards rushing on 30 attempts for 2.3 a carry. Like I said, cannot run the football. Brady Cook, 13 of 31 for a $186 and a touchdown.
And the touchdown was a prayer.
What did I say, Dalt? I shared the video. They are not beating A&M. They're not beating Alabama. And I'm still, as bad as my Sooners have looked, I don't think they're beating Oklahoma. Why would they? They've not shown to be, to me, any better than Oklahoma has this year. Like, you say what you want to say what you want about OU's schedule, but it's been better than Missouri's.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Oklahoma is better on defense than what A&M is. Offensively,
yeah. Well,
offensively, by that time, we don't know what Oklahoma's going to be. That's what, 5 weeks away. That's a lot of time for Oklahoma to find their footing.
Maybe. I know. I think it's.
And you come off a bye week.
Yeah. So obviously not talking about OU, but as a fan, I get into that. This is just embarrassing for Missouri. You go on the road, you have the like I said, the Theo Weiss thing, just total egg and face, top 10 team. You're not a top 10 team if you go on the. You can say what you want about Kyle Field and the environment and the fans, and it is a tough place to play. But how many teams have gone in there and had success against A&M, Dalt? I mean, they got beat by Appalachian State a few years ago, and I know this is a different team. But they just got beat by Notre Dame, who, I mean, I don't think Notre Dame's that good, and they beat them week 1. And I think A&M's, we talked about this. A&M's a solid team. Missouri, fraudulent. Both can be true.
Yep.
And I think that's the case. So we'll see where Missouri goes from here. The schedule's not tough. Really, the only 2 games remaining that they have. I mean, they do have Auburn, who I still will die on this hill. I think Auburn's not a bad football team. They're just a team that they are a pretty dang good offense. They just can't score. They can't score points. They move the ball up and down the field like crazy, and they either turn it over or turn it over on downs. Like, they just can't score. So I don't know that you would say that's a gimme. And I think they play Arkansas too, who's got the number 4 team in the country in a 1-point game at home with, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So bad for Missouri. That's my worst, without question. I think they're frauds. Called it. Still believe in it. Not going to deny it. It's where I'm at. So with that, Dalt, that is our week 6 recap. We're going to get out of here. Kept this thing right at about right under an hour, what we wanted to do. Good, decent weekend for me. Pretty good weekend for you. We talked about our overall records. I'll have to look back at that, and we'll go over them before we do our preview next week. That's something I've not really been updating because I have been so bad. I was actually pleasantly surprised at how much better my record was than what I thought it was going to be when I actually totaled it up. We did have the week that we totally skipped because we weren't able to record, so that probably helps me. But if you don't have anything else to add, Dalt, we'll get out of here, finish up watching these games for the rest of week 6, see if Arkansas can pull off the upset. And we'll be back for a preview episode for week 7. We got Red River, Dalt. We're back.
Oh, it's hate
We
week.
are back.
So what depending on what day we record, what size shirt do you wear? Because if I can't come pick up a shirt that you want me to wear this week, I'm just gonna run to Walmart, buy a freaking your size OU t-shirt, wear it once,
extra large,
and then give it to you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That was our bet last year. We were going to do it. We'll do it again this year. We were going to have you wear it the week after. We were each going to wear whoever lost. But we weren't able to do it last year, and so we decided that this year when we record the Red River episode, we'll do it then. So yeah, it's Red River. I mean, we're back, Dalt. It's the biggest game of the year for both of us. And you can say Georgia's bigger, but it's not. It's Red River. I mean,
Sark could beat OU by 50, lose to Georgia by 50.
You'd still be okay,
and we'd still be okay.
I would agree.
What you can't do is you can't lose to OU by 50,
yeah,
and then beat Georgia by 50. You can't be Ryan Day. You can't have an OU problem.
Early thoughts on that one is I would lean towards your Longhorns even as a Sooner fan. My Sooners just have not looked real capable.
Oh, Nico.
Yeah, missed him. My Sooners have not looked real capable offensively, so I just don't know if they can keep up. Texas has looked like
anything can happen in this game.
You guys have looked like a well-oiled machine, so we'll see how it goes. Massive rivalry, obviously. It's the biggest in the sport. I don't care what anyone says. I'll die on that hill. There's nothing like the Cotton Bowl, State Fair. We'll get into it next week. So, Dalt, if you don't have anything else, then we will get out of here, and we'll see you guys back for that preview episode, and we are out.
Don't forget to cover the flats.